500 years ago, this roll of parchment was so powerful that it offered protection and comfort in one of the most unpredictable and intense human experiences, childbirth. Now, centuries on, the roles are reversed, and it's our turn to protect it.
This particular scroll is an incredibly rare survival from the medieval period. It's one of only a handful of these scrolls that survives from medieval England, and its condition is also quite remarkable because of all of the signs of use.
So, just to reassure you, this is not the original object, this is a replica that we've had made that's printed on canvas. And we can use it to show you just what the original object would have looked like. So, it's over 3 meters long, it goes on for quite a while, and it's quite an unwieldy object when it's unrolled to its full length. But it would often have been used held against the body, so either rolled up and held in a little pouch, or potentially even wrapped around the body. And if you had it wrapped around your body, the words and the pictures would have been pressed against your skin to help protect you in really dangerous situations.
For decades, we had a pretty good idea of what this object was used for, but recently there's been incredibly exciting discoveries that allow us to be much more certain. And in unravelling the story of the scroll, we've learnt so much more about it and the people who used it.
Now, let's go through the scroll together. Okay, so we're going to start at the very top of the scroll. Here we've got an illustration of the 3 nails that were used during Christ's crucifixion to pin him to the cross. So it's quite a violent image. It's really something that evokes this idea of pain and suffering. It really speaks to the kinds of emotions that people were feeling while using this object. And so this image on the manuscript is about 18 to 19 centimeters. So it's taking up quite a lot of space. It's an accurate representation of the size that nails would have been used during the crucifixion. So people are really trying to connect with the actual tangible objects that would have been used, and something about the scale and size and measurement really helps people connect to that original situation.
So I guess coming back to the violence that's embodied in these nails, it's really interesting to think about how overall we very much have a sense that this object offered comfort and reassurance.
For me, the way that I read it is that for someone who's going through something painful, who's going through something anxiety-inducing or sort of really making you panic, that to be able to connect to a person who has so much power, who has also experienced such pain, is something that can provide a lot of comfort.
So now we're moving down the scroll, and we're about a third of the way down. And in particular, there are some stains that we can see that are not the same colour as the ink. In particular, this area. We could also point to this area where there is a stain. And visually you can see this is not the same colour as, for instance, the red ink of the text. There has been a question in people's minds for quite a few years now about, well, what are those stains? And is there any way that we could find out what they are?
So the analysis was led by Sarah Fidiment, who is a protein scientist. Previous ways of looking at manuscripts involved taking an actual sample of the parchment. Instead, the way that this was done was to use your ordinary sort of stationary eraser, and sort of you'd rub the surface of it, and tiny, tiny particles would be wrapped up in these little shavings of eraser. Various things were found in these proteins: milk, egg, honey, legumes, cereals, all sort of food items that would have been eaten but also used in medical contexts. We also found human bodily fluids, so cervicovaginal fluid, and that's really exciting because it's basically the closest thing that we can get to proof showing that this object was used in childbirth and pregnancy contexts. So we've moved a bit further down the roll again, and right here in the middle we've got an image of Christ's side wound surrounded by wounded hands and feet. This connects really well to the image of the 3 nails that we saw right at the top of the manuscript. It's less visible now because the manuscript is so worn, but there are blood droplets streaming from the hands and from the feet too. So this text here is in English, and it's about the number of the drops of blood. It's like a very easy arithmetic question. So you've got 500,000 drops of blood, 47,000 drops of blood, and then 500 drops of blood. So the final number that you get is 547,500 drops of blood. You probably wouldn't be expected to count every single one individually, but what you might end up doing is using the illustration here and count every single red droplet. This is something that's kind of like modern therapy, modern sort of CBT. By counting, that's helping you slow your breathing, and it's really helping you in these situations of anxiety or panic, particularly in childbirth, something that's so dangerous.
And where breathing is so important as well.
Absolutely.
So it makes so much sense. And I think that's why this scroll is so powerful, because I guess it's rolled up, it's tucked away, but when you need it, you can unroll it and you can draw upon everything that it offers to you. So for our final section, we've turned the scroll over and we're looking at the reverse, and we can see that there is text written here. The other really noteworthy thing that we can see here is evidence of how this scroll was put together. There's something very human about the stitching process, and stitching is such a universal aspect of medieval culture in textiles and also in medical practices, like the stitching of wounds and indeed the stitching of people after they'd given birth sometimes.
So it's really interesting thinking about this side as a kind of instruction manual on how to use it, how to get the benefits out of it. So this line here reads, "And if a woman travail with child, gird this measure about her womb." So travail is another word for labour, and womb here is talking just generally about the abdomen rather than specifically the uterus. You might have encountered the phrase gird your loins, to sort of wrap something around yourself and sort of bolster yourself to help you feel more confident. And I think here this side is really talking about the ways that you can interact with this object, the specific situations that you can protect yourself against, and how to use this manuscript in order to get those benefits. It's been really exciting getting to do a bit of a deep dive into this birth scroll today. It's also a really useful and timely reminder about the kind of fears, hopes and anxieties that people experience in medical situations. These are things that people experience today. Everyone's understanding of medicine as an institution is different, and particularly when it comes to marginalised demographics, there are all sorts of different understandings and ways that medicine even today has structural inequalities that we need to address.
We've been working closely with a replica, and that's enabled us to wrap it around ourselves, to handle it closely. The actual scroll is just so incredibly fragile that it's actually remarkable that it survives at all. In the medieval past, this object preserved people. It offered them protection and resilience. Where we are today is that we need to preserve it.
I'm pretty sure that everybody watching will have experienced fear and hope at some point in their lives. There have been things that you do, people that you see, objects that you have to protect yourself, to look after yourself in those sorts of situations. And it's really special to be able to connect with something that shows the history of that sort of process 500 years ago.